It is a Monday morning. That means the TTPS join us on the Now Morning Show in the form of Inspector Michelle Lewis. Good morning to you, Inspector. Welcome back.
Good morning to you, sir, and good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. It's a beautiful week.
It is a beautiful week. It's Holy Week, but it's also vacation time for the children. So
Yes,
we know
it
Easter
is.
vacation is upon us. The children
Yes,
are
it is.
home. The streets are nice and easy to drive on because they have no traffic, allegedly. But we have some things that we do need to be concerned about.
Well, the streets are nice and easy to drive on with no traffic for school, but we have plenty of children on the roadways. So motorists have to pay attention to that as well.
Okay.
But yes, children are on vacation. And this morning, we're looking at the topic of empowering children. Some of the things that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service do, we do both internal and external with some community partners.
Okay.
And so this morning, with all that is taking place in the communities, and of course the children having sat SEA last week, Thursday, so we know that that group of children, about 19,000 or so, will be home for, well, not home, but they will not be in serious classroom settings until
They have a little bit more
September,
freedom. A little bit more freedom than most.
which is about 5 months.
Yeah.
So it is important as an organization and as parents as well that we do all that we can to empower children. Recently, just last week, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service engaged in a community partnership with the Port of Spain East, the Belmont East District in particular, where that workshop was held to empower girls. Girls meaning part of the young people community, right? Because those are the persons who we see are more targeted. And so that workshop gave those young persons the opportunity to learn self-defense, to build their capacity, to build their wisdom, their skills, and gain that strength and courage as young persons in the community, so that they are not vulnerable or become victims, both mentally and physically.
Right. When you say build their capacity, in what sense?
So the workshop, within it, we had Professor Mashama, one of the instructors of the TTPS Academy. Well, former, he's now out of the academy. And he did some self-defense techniques with the young persons. And we also had the head of the gender-based violence unit, Senior Superintendent Claire Guy-Allen, who spoke to them in relation to sexual violence and abuses and that kind of thing. And when you say no, no means no. And it is not for the person to really to coerce you or to encourage you to change your mind to say yes, that's your position. So when we say the development of the young person, we meant both mentally, both physically, and of course some life skills were in that as well, because we also had victim and witness support, given counseling. So it was a real, it was a wonderful, proactive strategy by the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, together with the councillor for the Port of Spain East District, Nicole Young. And so it is one that we started it last year in that area, and we continue to have continuous workshops in the Port of Spain East in particular, because we know that area, we always hearing it in the media in a bad light. So hearing about activities in another light, in a good light, is something that the TTPS want to share as well to the public.
So do we plan to have more?
Yes, we continue to have workshops in the area.
And you will make sure and let us know when they are, so we can let people know who may not be aware, so that they can also attend.
Certainly.
Yeah? And you have to send some images so we could see how nice work they're doing too.
Sure.
All right, so how do we want to empower children as we enter this Easter vacation period?
Right, so like I said, some of that will be the workshops. We also utilizing the police street clubs during the holiday period. And some of the workshops are having different camps and different outings for young persons to get to know your country. We're also having workshops with the anti-gang unit in terms of giving them that information out there. We have noticed that gang activities in Trinidad very prevalent, and so our focus is to reach the young people before the gang leaders and gang members reach the young people. So some of the things that we are doing is giving them the education and the knowledge what to look out for. So you have 2 weeks of school vacation now, and then you have the SEA children. And we also know that those gang leaders and members are going to be looking to recruit and to groom young persons to get themselves involved in illegal activity. So as parent, as guardian, it's important that you show your children love, Let them know and experience what is love. Talk to them positively. Let them know that they can come to you. When you do not fulfill that primary role as a caregiver and as a lover to that child looks for it outside. The protection of a household is important to that child. And you would hear a young person say, well, you know, the gang offering me security, the gang offering me this, the gang offering me that. And there is really no comparison in terms of the love of a parent and a household as compared to that. But in the eyes of the child, when they are confused, they tend to go that way because it seems to be the better thing to do. So when we talk about empowering young people and empowering children, these are some of the things that we want to put out there and engage with young people, schools, community groups, just like we did in Belmont, to empower children to make sound decisions, good
now, Inspector,
decisions.
one of the interesting things to me about what you're saying is that if it is that you come from a household where you have both parents and you can receive that level of love, even if you're saying, all right, yes, let's, you know, do some more, give some more love, and yes, the parents who are there can do it. What about the parents who may be single parents, or the parents who are often having to work while the children are at home or doing whatever during the vacation and they're not around? What advice would you give to them?
And the parents who don't have it. And the parents who don't have it.
Who don't have the love to give?
Correct.
Oh, yeah, even them.
Right, so that's
what we doing? How we helping them?
So that's a big issue there, right? Yeah. And there is where victim and witness comes in relation to counseling and that kind of thing, right? But for parents who have, so you're going to school, you are working, and life, everything in relation to life, having to provide the financials and everything else to make sure the rent is paid, the bills are paid, and you could eat, right? You have all that, and sometimes as an adult, it really becomes overwhelming. Nevertheless, your primary responsibility, your lawful responsibility is to your children, right? Your lawful responsibility to your children. So, through the Ministry of Community Development, there are other support mechanisms and systems in place that can help you and support you so that all that you have to do is not too overwhelming, that you lose focus on the next generation of Trinidad and Tobago. And that is what we want you to focus on. Don't stay home and not work, but we also want you to pay attention to the development of the child that is going to be in the society in the next few years.
Would you recommend sending the children to camps during the Easter vacation?
Of course, you must have to do your due diligence, right? Because it's important that you know who is holding the camp and where the children will be spending and in whose company the children will be spending their time in. And once you have that confidence in whoever the facilitators of the camp and the space that the child is in, by all means, it is a safe space for the child to be.
Okay. And any advice you want to give to the parents who might say, all right, well, I don't have the funding to send them to camp, but I also need to go to work. So I'm leaving them home in the day, let's say with granny or grandpa, or, you know, in some cases by themselves, the older children who might be staying home by themselves. What advice would you give to the parents on that?
There are a lot of free camps all around Trinidad and Tobago. Police Youth Club camps are generally free, right? Because we partner with stakeholders and it's generally free because that's what the police do, right? That's proactive.
Right.
But outside of that, if it is that the parents want to, sorry, could you ask me again?
No, if the parents may not have the means to send them to the camps or whatever the case is, they might be leaving them home alone or with a older grandparent or somebody who may not be as mobile or able to keep up with their pace. What advice would you give to the parents in that regard? How do they treat their children?
So children who are left in the care of a senior person, a senior citizen who doesn't have the capacity could be considered willful neglect. So therefore, leaving a child to care for someone who himself or herself need caring for is contrary to law, right? But we see that happening. And so we advise, we're glad that you brought it up, we advise against that.
Right.
And children, by law in Trinidad and Tobago, is considered anybody under the age of 18.
Right.
So if you're 1 year under 18, you're a child. And so a child cannot supervise a child.
Right.
It doesn't matter how your home is, you have everything laid out. The law is like that. So if something happens,
you are at fault.
You can be charged. And indictably, it's 10 years imprisonment, and summarily, it's 6 years imprisonment.
But then the child's still left alone without the parents either way. So what happens to the child in that situation?
Well, what could happen is that you can leave the child home and the child can die. And that would be another case. You would have lost your child. The rest of the household would have also lost a family member, and you're now facing more serious criminal offenses. In the case of a willful neglect, And normally when that happens is because the police would have done some investigation and realized that, it's beyond a normal situation, right? And so they will charge you. But one of the things that we also want you to be is that if it is that you're unable to, because you have to work, then see who else you can get to assist you. And one of the things that the churches in a community do, the police youth clubs in the community do, is to give that support to the family.
Right.
And you have to look for the good support in the community to help you, because as single parents, be it male or female, you need the help.
Definitely.
You really need the help. Even with 2 parents in a household.
You need the help too.
You need the help. So we know we know that, the help is necessary. We just want you to think about what you're doing and be responsible as a parent. The upbringing of a child is your responsibility. The care of that child is your responsibility. So the police will come to you.
Yeah. And I think that is a very good place that we can leave it for this morning, Inspector. The care of your child is your responsibility. So make sure that you do all that you need to do to make sure they are safe, taken care of, and accounted for on all fronts. Yeah? Thank you so much for joining us, Inspector, and all the best for the week. Of course, if you have... if you see something, say something, as Inspector loves to say.
Dial 999-555 and 800 tips. Of course, we have the number for the COP and the DCP, which is 736 TTPS. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we take a quick break and we come back with more inside the Now Morning Show. 736 TTPS, that's 8877 if you want to talk to the COP directly or the DCOP as well. We take that break and come back with more. Stay tuned.